The grand hall of the elders was silent. Towers of crystal reached into the sky of the ancient world, glowing with the light of 1,000 suns. Inside, 12 elders sat around a table carved from a single stone older than the stars. Their faces were hidden in shadow. Their voices carried the weight of history. "Do not awaken humanity," whispered the oldest elder, his voice trembling as if he spoke a curse. "They were cast away for a reason. They were locked in silence, and we swore never to disturb their world." The chamber grew colder as the words echoed. Every alien who entered that hall knew the warning. It was the oldest law of the galaxy. The younger leaders obeyed. None dared to ask why. But today, one voice rose in challenge. It was Lord Kael, commander of the Varan fleet. His scales shimmered green beneath the crystal light, his eyes sharp with pride. He stood tall among the elders, unafraid of their silence. "You speak of fear, but you offer no proof," he said. "How can a single lost species be more dangerous than the armies of 1,000 worlds?" The elders looked at one another, their silence heavier than stone. Kael's words cut the air. For a moment, even the ancient shadows seemed to tremble. Finally, one elder spoke, her voice soft and broken. "Because they do not fight like us, they do not think like us. They are chaos given form. When humanity rises, empires burn, and even the strongest fall." Kael smiled, his pride unshaken. He had heard the same story since childhood, a tale of demons from Saul. But in all his years he had seen no proof. The galaxy was vast, the stars endless, and humanity nothing but myth. "I do not believe in ghosts," Kael declared. "My fleet will explore the Sol system, and if there is truth I will find it. If there is only silence, then your warnings are nothing but superstition." Gasps filled the chamber. The elders slammed their hands upon the stone. The crystal towers shook with their fury. "You fool," cried one. "You will condemn us all." "You dare break the oldest law," shouted another. But Kael's heart was already set. His pride was stronger than their fear, and his hunger for glory blinded him to the danger. That night, the Varan fleet prepared to depart. Hundreds of ships glowed against the dark void. Engines roared like thunder, and the banners of Kael's command waved with pride. The younger officers followed him, eager for conquest. They laughed at the warnings of the elders. To them, humanity was nothing but a forgotten legend. Kael stood upon the bridge of his flagship. The stars stretched before him like endless prey. He raised his hand and spoke with confidence. "Set course for Sol. Let us see what secrets this forbidden world hides." As the fleet entered the void, the elders gathered in silence. Their eyes glowed with fear. One elder whispered what none dared to say aloud. "The seal is broken, and the fire will rise again." The journey was long. Kael's fleet crossed the edge of known space, beyond the stars where no trader traveled, past the routes forgotten by time. At last, the dark sphere of Sol appeared on their screens, cold, quiet, and lifeless. "Behold," Kael said with triumph, "this is the terror the elders fear, a dead system, nothing more." But as the fleet moved closer, strange signals whispered through their comms. Static hissed, numbers repeated in endless patterns. Ancient satellites floated in silence, their lights still blinking after centuries. The officers laughed. "Relics of a broken world," they said. "Humanity is dust, nothing more." Kael smiled, but deep in his chest, something cold stirred. For among the ruins, a single warning beacon flickered to life. Its voice was faint but clear. "Do not disturb us," it said. "We are sleeping, thou." A bridge fell silent. The officers stared at the screen, unease spreading across their faces. Kael clenched his fists, his pride battling the chill in his soul. "A trick," he said, forcing a laugh. "An old recording, nothing more." But far across the galaxy, alarms began to ring. In ancient machines long forgotten, lights turned red. Old programs stirred awake, their codes older than the Elder Council itself. Something had been triggered, something that was never meant to be touched. And deep within Earth, beneath oceans and stone, eyes long closed began to open. Humanity stirred. The galaxy trembled. The choice had been made. Kael had awakened the fire. The Varan fleet drifted into the Sol system like shadows in the night. Their engines burned quietly as they passed the frozen giants. Saturn with its broken rings, Neptune with its blue storms. The bridge crew whispered, some mocking, others uneasy, for the system felt alive, though no voice welcomed them. Kale stood tall on the command deck, his pride refusing to bend. Scan everything, he ordered. Bring me proof that the Elders' warnings are lies. Sensors spread across the void. Beams of light touched ancient wreckage. Dozens of ruined satellites floated around Earth, their metal skins scarred by time. But still they blinked, faint signals pulsing like a heartbeat. A silence too deliberate filled the comms. Not the silence of death, but the silence of something waiting. One officer trembled as he read the data. Commander, these signals are not random. They are repeating patterns, coordinates perhaps. Kale smirked. Perhaps an old code, long forgotten, or perhaps a message for us. He waved his clawed hand. Send a drone, activate the beacon, let us see what the humans left behind. The drone flew through the emptiness, a small sphere of metal. It touched the broken satellite, and in that moment, the universe shifted. Alarms howled across every ship. Ancient words burned onto every screen. You were warned, do not disturb us. The crew froze, eyes wide with terror. Kale clenched his teeth, forcing a laugh. A recording, no more. But deep inside, even he felt the chill, for the words were not static, not random. They were alive, spoken with authority, far beneath Earth, buried in the oceans. Machines long forgotten awakened. Colossal engines roared to life, stirring currents that had slept for centuries. Old satellites, once blind, turned their eyes back to the stars, and deep within bunkers sealed in stone, a human voice whispered into the void. Who disturbs our rest? Kale's fleet caught the signal, a single human word repeated again and again across the comms. Every language system translated it the same way. Awaken, the bridge crew broke into panic. This is no ghost, Commander. This is real, cried one. The humans live, shouted another. Kale roared over their fear. Silence, they are relics, nothing more. We will strike the planet and prove it. But even as he spoke, something stirred on the edge of the system. Dark shapes emerged from the Oort cloud, vast vessels, old and scarred, drifting as if asleep. Their hulls bore symbols none had seen in 1,000 years. Human ships. At first they were silent, cold, drifting like tombs. Then one by one lights flickered across their surfaces, engines hummed, weapons charged, and a voice older than the Council itself thundered across the galaxy. Humanity does not forgive. Kale's pride faltered, his crew trembled. The Elders' words returned to him like blades. When humanity rises, empires fall. The first human ship moved. It was no larger than a destroyer, black as the void, yet it cut through the Veyron formation with terrifying precision. Its weapons struck without warning. One alien cruiser vanished in fire, another broke in half as if torn by invisible hands. The Veyron fleet screamed into battle. Hundreds of ships turned their guns upon the single destroyer. But the human vessel danced among them like a predator. It struck, vanished, reappeared. Every move perfect, every strike merciless. Alien blood filled the void. Kale gripped the rail, his scales burning with rage. This is not possible. One ship cannot break an armada. Yet the truth unfolded before his eyes. Humans did not fight with numbers. They fought with cunning. They turned weakness into power. Every blast was a trap. Every move a lesson written in blood. Within minutes, dozens of Veyron ships burned. The fleet that had crossed stars with pride now scattered in terror. And as the last cruiser fell, the human ship did not pursue. It simply broadcast a single message across every channel. We warned you. Now the galaxy will remember. In the far corners of space, oppressed races listened. The enslaved, the forgotten, the broken. They heard humanity's voice after centuries of silence, and their hearts stirred. If they can rise again, so can we, they whispered. The Elders watching from their crystal towers fell into dread. The law had been broken, the seal shattered, and all their warnings had come true. Kale stared into the void, his pride shattered. He had wanted glory, he had wanted truth. Instead, he had brought fire, and deep inside he knew the galaxy would never be the same again, for humanity was awake, and their wrath had only begun. The galaxy was never quiet again after that battle. Across 1,000 worlds, whispers spread like fire. Humanity lives, humanity fights, humanity returns. The elders hid in their crystal halls, their fear growing with every new report. But the truth was worse than even they had imagined. For the signal from Sol had not only awakened one ship, it had awakened everything. Beneath Earth's oceans, engines buried in salt and stone began to move. Tides shifted as vast machines rose from the deep. Cities hidden beneath the waves flickered with power. Lights long dead now blazed like stars. In the deserts, great doors of iron opened. From within marched war machines older than. Empires, titanic walkers stepped across the sand, their weapons glowing with ancient fire. In orbit, derelict stations once thought broken came alive. Panels unfolded, cannons rearmed, and a voice, human and cold, spread across the system. "We are awake, who dares disturb us?" Kael's surviving fleet cowered on the edge of Sol. He had lost half his armada to a single human destroyer. Now his officers begged him to flee. "Commander, we cannot win this. They are not like us. They are something else." Kael's pride fought against his terror. He had wanted proof of the elders' lies, and he had found it. But the truth was sharper than any blade. Before he could answer, a new signal reached his ship. Not a threat this time, not a warning, a message. It came from Earth itself, translated into every tongue at once. "To the galaxy, you feared us. You locked us away. You spoke of us as monsters. Now you will see the truth. Humanity does not bow." The bridge fell silent. Every officer turned pale. Kael's claws dug into the rail as he whispered to himself, "They are not just alive, they are angry." Across the galaxy, chaos spread. Slave worlds heard the human broadcast and trembled with hope. Rebellion stirred in the mines. Whispers spread in the markets. The elders commanded silence, but their voices no longer held power, for a greater voice had returned. The human fleets began to move, not vast armadas, not countless ships, but small, precise, and terrifying. Every vessel that woke carried the memory of ancient war. Every commander that rose from cryosleep carried the fire of survival. They did not march like armies, they hunted like predators. On the edge of Sol, 3 human cruisers faced an entire alien blockade. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was done, the blockade was gone, and the human ship stood untouched. In the Elder Council, panic consumed the sky. "Hamber, the seal is broken. We told him not to go. Now the fire spreads," cried one. "They will burn the galaxy again just as before," but none dared to speak the full truth. The elders had not only feared humanity, they had lied. For long ago, it was not humanity who began the ancient war. It was the elders, and humanity had been punished not for cruelty, but for defiance. Now that defiance had returned, Kael watched from his flagship as the humans advanced. Every instinct told him to run, but something stronger held him still. He saw in them not monsters, but strength, a strength his people had never known. And though fear crushed his chest, a part of him whispered, "If they rise, perhaps we too can be free." The human fleet transmitted once more, this time a simple warning. "This is the beginning." And across the stars the galaxy trembled, for humanity had not only awakened, they were coming. The galaxy had feared this moment for millennia. The seal was broken, the humans were awake, and now the first sparks of war burned in the dark. On the rim of Sol, the human fleets gathered. They were not countless like the armadas of the elders. They were not grand like the ceremonial ships of the council. Instead, they were sharp, precise, and alive. Every vessel carried scars of ancient battles. Every hull bore markings written in forgotten tongues. These were not fleets built for show. They were predators born for survival. The Varan survivors watched from a distance. Their fear grew with every human signal. Kael stood on his bridge, silent. His crew begged him to retreat, but he could not. Something inside him demanded to see this war unfold. The elders in their crystal towers had no choice but to act. They sent their fleets across the stars, thousands of ships armed with the most advanced weapons of the age. The council spoke with trembling voices. "Contain them, destroy them, before the fire spreads." But the fire had already spread. The first battle began at the gates of Sol. The elder fleets arrived in shining formation. Their banners lit the void, their voices echoed commands. The humans answered with silence, then with a single whisper across comms, "Engage." The battle exploded like thunder. Alien weapons filled the stars with fire, but the humans moved like shadows, every strike calculated, every move designed to kill. A single Terran destroyer tore through a squadron 5 times its size. A human cruiser disabled enemy shields with codes hidden in ancient networks. Weapons the galaxy had never seen struck with ruthless precision. KL's eyes widened as he watched the impossible. "These are not warriors. These are monsters," his officer whispered, but KL shook his head. "No, they are survivors. They fight as if every breath is their last." Within hours, the Elder fleet that had crossed light years was broken. Dozens of their ships burned. Others fled into the void. The humans did not chase. They simply held their ground, cold, merciless, and unbroken. The galaxy trembled. News spread faster than any fleet. An Elder armada was destroyed at Sol. Humanity fights like no other. On slave worlds, chains grew weaker. In hidden colonies, rebels whispered louder. The Elders tried to bury the truth, but the truth had already become legend. Deep inside the council, panic consumed the Elders. "They will destroy everything," cried one. "They will not stop until the galaxy bows," said another. But the oldest Elder closed his eyes and whispered, "No, they do not want our thrones. They want their freedom, and freedom is the one thing we cannot give." The chamber fell silent, for every Elder knew the truth. The galaxy was built on fear. If one race defied the order, all would rise. Back in Sol, the human commander spoke at last. Her voice carried across every channel, every language. "We warned you, but you would not listen. Now you will remember our name. Humanity does not kneel, humanity. He does not forgive." The words echoed like thunder, and the galaxy realized the war had only just begun. Kale stood on his bridge, staring at the human fleet. Fear burned in him, but so did something else. A strange fire, a dangerous thought. Perhaps the Elders were not protectors, but tyrants. Perhaps humanity was not a curse, but a chance. And though his people trembled, Kale whispered to himself, "If they can defy the Elders, maybe we can too." Thus began the First Contact War. Not a war of conquest, but a war of defiance. A war where one lost species reminded the galaxy of a forgotten truth. That fear cannot hold forever. That fire, once lit, cannot be extinguished. And in the shadows of the stars, humanity prepared for the battles to come. The First Contact War was only the beginning. The real battle began in the hearts of the oppressed. For across the galaxy, the voice of humanity echoed louder than the weapons they carried. On mining worlds where slaves dug until their bones broke, whispers spread. They defeated an Elder fleet at Sol. They fight with fire, they fight with courage, they fight for freedom. In the markets of the outer colonies, merchants spoke in hushed voices. If humanity rises, perhaps the chains will break. The Elders tried to silence the rumors. They sent soldiers, they burned villages, they crushed rebellions before they began. But for every whisper they silenced, 10 more rose. The galaxy had tasted the idea of defiance, and ideas cannot be destroyed. Meanwhile, humanity did not seek conquest. They did not march with endless armies. Instead, they sent envoys, secret signals hidden in old channels, messages that reached those who had suffered under the council. "We rise, you can rise too." The first to answer were the Kalari, insectoid miners enslaved for centuries. They rose in the dark mines, killing their overseers with stolen tools. Their rebellion spread like fire, and in their skies appeared a single human cruiser. It did not conquer, it did not rule, it simply opened its bays and armed the Kalari with weapons forged in forgotten vaults. For the first time in their history, the Kalari fought not as slaves, but as warriors. The galaxy shook as uprising after uprising spread. The Veil, a race of singers silenced for generations, broke their chains. The Dren, farmers crushed by taxes, refused to kneel. On dozens of worlds, the Elders' banners were torn down, replaced by a single word carved into stone. Humanity, the Elders raged in their council halls. "This is chaos, this is destruction," cried one. "They spread rebellion like a plague," shouted another. But the oldest Elder lowered his head and whispered, "No, this is not chaos. This is truth. We built our thrones on chains, and now the chains are breaking." Kale watched from his flagship, torn between loyalty and awakening. He had once sought glory, but now he saw the truth. The elders had ruled with fear, but humanity ruled with example. They fought not for crowns, but for survival. And survival was something every race understood. He spoke quietly to his officers. We thought them monsters, but perhaps they are hope. But humanity's mercy was as terrifying as their wrath, for they did not demand obedience. They offered a choice. Stand with them or stand aside. And many who had once feared them now begged to fight at their side. The elder fleets grew desperate. They sent larger and larger armadas to crush the rebellion, but every battle turned against them, because every world they sought to control now burned with resistance, and in every shadow a human ship appeared, striking with precision, disappearing into the dark. Soon the galaxy was no longer one empire. It was fire and fracture. It was rebellion and uprising, and at the center of it all stood humanity. Awake, unbroken, unstoppable, the elders gathered once more in their crystal halls. They will burn us all, said one. They will tear down everything we built. But the oldest elder whispered the words they all feared most. They have not even begun. The galaxy burned. From one corner of the stars to another, the uprising spread. Chains were broken. Banners of rebellion rose, and behind every whisper, every act of defiance stood humanity. But the elders would not surrender their throne. They gathered the greatest armada the galaxy had ever seen, thousands of ships forged in secret dockyards, weapons so vast they could shatter moons. The council declared, "We will end this madness. We will erase humanity once more." The fleets of the elders descended upon Sol. Their shadows darkened the stars. Their numbers blotted the void. Kale watched from his distant vantage point. Even his pride bent beneath the sight of so many ships. "This is the storm," he whispered. "This is the end." But deep within Earth, humanity had prepared. They had waited centuries for this moment, and they would not face it with fear. The oceans parted as titanic structures rose from beneath. War machines the size of mountains, built in silence for ages. In orbit, hidden stations unfolded, their cannons aimed at the elder fleet, glowing with power. And then from the Oort cloud, the ancient Terran armada emerged. Not hundreds, not thousands, but enough to turn the void into fire. Ships older than empires, black as night, their hulls carved with scars of forgotten wars. Every one of them alive with rage, every one of them burning with purpose. The first shot came not from the elders, but from Earth itself. A single beam cut across the void. It passed through 3 elder cruisers, as if they were made of glass. The galaxy had never seen such power. And it was only the beginning. The elder fleets charged, thousands of ships in perfect formation, but perfection shattered against chaos. The humans fought like storms, unpredictable, unyielding. Every strike tore holes through fleets, every counter turned victory into disaster. Kale's eyes widened. And as he saw it, the humans unleashed weapons that bent space, warheads that turned enemy engines against themselves, cannons that ripped shields apart with invisible force. This was not war as the galaxy knew it. This was wrath. The elder commanders shouted orders. Hold the line, crush them with numbers. But numbers meant nothing. For every human ship destroyed, 3 more emerged from hidden vaults. For every weapon broken, another more terrible awoke. The battle raged for hours, the void lit with endless fire. Worlds near Sol shook from the force of it. And yet, through all the chaos, humanity never faltered. They fought with the memory of exile. They fought with the fury of survival. And they fought with a single message: we will never kneel again. At last, the elder armada began to break. Ships fled into the dark. Commanders begged for retreat. The once unshakable order of the council fell into fear, and the galaxy, watching from afar, saw what the elders had tried to hide. Humanity was not a myth, not a ghost, not a curse. They were a storm, and the storm could not be stopped. Kael gripped the rail of his bridge, his heart torn between awe and terror. He had seen greatness, he had seen fire, and he knew the galaxy had changed forever. If this is their wrath, he whispered, what will their mercy be? When the last elder fleet retreated, silence fell. The stars glowed red with wreckage. The humans did not cheer. They simply stood in the void, silent, unbroken, and their message carried across the stars. The war is not over. This is only the beginning. The war had ended, but the galaxy was not silent. Wreckage drifted through the stars. Elder fleets shattered. Their proud banners burned. Yet humanity did not claim thrones, did not crown rulers. Instead, they sent a single message across every channel to every race. The galaxy has a choice. Enslave. Worlds, chains lay broken. The Kalari raised their wings in freedom. The Veil sang their voices across the stars, no longer silenced. The Dren farmers raised their heads, refusing to kneel again. Every race heard the same words. Stand with us or stand aside, for we will not be caged again. The elders sat in their shattered council, their crystal halls cracked and broken. Fear hung heavy in the air. Destroy them, one whispered. Beg them for mercy, said another. But the oldest elder, his voice weak, finally spoke the truth. We cannot destroy them, and mercy will not be given. We built our empire on chains, and now the fire consumes us. For the first time in millennia, the elders were silent, not from power, but from fear. Kale stood upon his flagship, watching the humans' fleets move like shadows. He remembered the warnings, the curses, the lies. The elders had said humanity was a monster, but now he saw the truth. They were not monsters. They were a mirror, a reminder of what every race could be if they refused to kneel. His officers turned to him, fear and hope burning in their eyes. What shall we do, they asked. Kale took a long breath and spoke the words that would change his people forever. We will stand with them. Across the galaxy, one by one, races began to rise. Some chose to fight beside humanity, others hid, fearing what would come, and some, bound still by loyalty to the elders, swore vengeance. The galaxy was no longer united. It was fractured, burning, alive. The human commander stood before the galaxy in her final broadcast, her voice calm, but sharper than steel. You feared us. You buried us. You silenced us. But now you will remember us. We do not seek crowns. We do not seek empires. We seek freedom, and freedom will spread no matter how many try to stop it. The message cut across every world, and in its echo, rebellions turned into revolutions, empires turned into ruins, and the galaxy shifted forever. But as the last Elder Hall fell, a secret was spoken. One. The galaxy had forgotten. The oldest elder whispered as he faded. You think you are free, but you have only awakened what sleeps beyond the stars. You have unleashed more than you know. The words lingered like poison, and though humanity stood victorious, even they could not ignore the shadow that now loomed. For their awakening had not only broken chains, it had called forth something greater, something waiting, and the galaxy trembled once more. Kale looked upon the human fleets. He knew the galaxy would never return to silence, and yet deep inside he felt hope. Hope that at last the stars would belong not to tyrants, but to those brave enough to fight. He raised his hand and whispered, "Then let the galaxy burn with freedom." Thus ended the Elder's reign. Thus began humanity's rise, a fire that would ignite worlds, inspire generations, and haunt the stars. The galaxy would never forget the warning. Do not awaken humanity. But now, awakened, humanity would never sleep again.